Alright, today I want to talk about fake news and the liberal media. In March 2018, multiple news outlets broke a story about Cambridge Analytica. That's the British political consulting firm that became infamous after they sold data to the Trump campaign to help shape the outcome of the 2016 presidential election. Since then, there's been no shortage of outrage over fake news on social media. Funny thing about that, the term fake news, first coined by Norm Macdonald while hosting Saturday Night Live's Weekend Update, later became a talking point to the left to help combat conservative news outlets. But after Trump adopted the term and made it his own, the fake news attacks have now become a damaging label placed on national mainstream news outlets like CNN and NBC for alleged liberal bias in their reporting. Look, there are dozens of examples of mainstream news outlets spreading false information, sometimes knowingly, sometimes out of ignorance, but one recent example regarding NBC News, Facebook, and Ted Cruz has a lot of people scratching their heads. It all started back in 2015. That's when Senator Ted Cruz was still running for president. After a GOP primary debate, Cruz came forward with information about the federal government and how they monitor people's phone records. Cruz's comment regarded changes in the metadata collection program. He was concerned, and rightfully so, over the government possibly violating our Fourth Amendment rights. However, after he made the comment, there were some questions made by various critics over whether or not the information he was sharing was previously classified by the Senate Intelligence Committee. So, out of concern over national security protocol possibly being put into jeopardy, NBC News wrote a story about the incident. Not to be outdone, Meet the Press, a program produced by NBC News, promoted the article on Facebook through sponsored posts. So that means they paid Facebook to spread the article around to people who might not have seen it otherwise. Hence the term sponsored post. For what it's worth, NBC News has over 8 million followers on Facebook, and it's believed that about 1.2 million people watch Meet the Press each week on NBC. That means without even sponsoring the post, NBC had a very large audience of people who potentially could have seen this article. And again, at this point, nobody actually knew if Cruz had violated security protocol by talking about the data collection program. But all that changed on December 16, 2015, when the story was debunked. It turns out the alleged classified information the Cruz was discussing was previously published in the Wall Street Journal. If the information was already out there, then Cruz didn't do anything wrong. So that should be the end of the story, right? Wrong. Obviously, that's not the end of the story. NBC News' Meet the Press kept promoting the story on social media, and they kept paying Facebook to promote it as a sponsored post. Meanwhile, Facebook gladly kept taking the money from them. Even though multiple debates and primary election dates had come and gone, and the story had been debunked, NBC News continued to promote the story as if it was still an issue. In fact, 5 months had passed, and NBC was still giving money to Facebook to spread lies about Ted Cruz. This happened at the height of the GOP primaries, right around the same time that Trump accused Ted Cruz's father of having some connection to the John F. Kennedy assassination, which was also fake news, just saying. And as NBC News and Facebook continued their fake news attacks on Ted Cruz, people on social media began to take notice and complained. Dozens of Facebook users reported the post and documented the dishonesty from both of the two media outlets, both Facebook and NBC News. And yes, Facebook is a media outlet, hence the term social media. They're not a tech company. They might say they're a tech company, but really they're a media outlet. Alright, so NBC News and Facebook are guilty of spreading fake information. But how many people saw this information? Well, at least 1,435 people shared the story on social media after it had already been debunked. This is a huge smear on NBC News' credibility. They sponsored a post on social media that was blatantly untrue. But why? For web traffic? To help promote their website? Surely there were more outrageous and exciting news stories that NBC News could have shared and sponsored to help push traffic to their site. So while people keep babbling on about Russian hackers influencing the election, or right-wing media personalities like Alex Jones spreading misinformation on social media, just remember, NBC News and Facebook are 1,000,000 times more influential on American voters than any of those outlets. Russian troll farms, Alex Jones, whatever. And somehow, they remain unpunished. So when people ask you, is there a liberal bias in the news media? The answer is an overwhelmingly yes.